Shout out to the fam. Appreciate y'all for being in the live, man. Welcome. You're now rocking with the Sports Coma with Big Q and the guys, where we have intense, entertaining, educating, and enlightening sport talk from your favorite sports fam. Shout out to FanDuel, the official sponsor of the Sports Coma. We up in this thing. Y'all hit that like button and the subscribe button as we continue to go. Now, listen, fam. We're going to go over some news note and item on this episode of the Coma, the Wednesday stream, and just doing some reacting, or rather, just kind of looking over the Saints, making some moves. We did see them add a few pieces, but this is actually a smart move for the Saints to do in terms of re-signing the safety Julian Blackmon. Now, I remember when Tyrann Mathieu retired early last year, the Saints brass immediately pivoted and to look to see if they could find some help at the safety position. Julian Blackmon was a guy that came through via the free agency way, and he stepped right on in. And a lot of people didn't know too much about Julian Blackmon. He came from the Colts. He was a pretty decent defensive back, and he was productive in parts. But then the issue with Julian Blackmon was the fact that he had an injury issue that we wanted him to shake. Well, he was balling as he came into the preseason. He was lined up for that safety. I mean, as soon as Julian Blackmon got here, he took off in practices, the camps, preseason. He was looking good, and ultimately he got hurt. That kind of ended his season, and then that he was done for the rest of the year. Never seen him, which opened up a pathway for Jonas Sanker to step right in. And Jonas Sanker, man, just took that position and made it his own. So the Saints kind of pivoted and went back and re-signed Julian Blackmon again to provide depth. Now, of course, getting him back does, it helped with the veteran depth. He is familiar with Staley's system. He has some success there. But ultimately, we know that Alontae Taylor is a guy that could be on the move. He's an unrestricted free agent. The Saints are going to take the posture of allowing free agency to dictate his market value. And that's fine if they do that. That's all good. That's a smart measurement to do for the black and gold. But with Julian Blackmon, let's kind of go over this article right here. Shout out to the Saints Wire for putting up some good game right here as we get into it. So let's kind of go right into this article right here. And they're talking about it. The Saints made the right call, according to what the writer was saying. Saints made their first big move of the offseason on Tuesday, and it was a good one. The Saints announced that the team had signed Julian Blackmon to a one-year extension for the 2026 season. New Orleans Saints VP General Manager Slick Mickey Loomis saying, "Oh, I know, well, Blackmon, we're signing him back." So they got him a one-year contract extension, 6 feet 202, 6-year NFL vet, originally a third-round pick, 85th overall by the Colts out of Utah back in 2020, and 6 years with the Colts, 2020, 2024, and the Saints in 25. The Utah native played 67 regular season games with 63 starts, had a career total of 300 tackles, 224 of which was solo, a sack and a half, 10 picks including one return for a touchdown, 22 pass breakups, 2 forced fumbles, 3 fumble recoveries, and 7 special teams tackles. And Julian Blackmon, like I said, good, solid defensive back, but the injuries have been an issue throughout his career. But in a depth perspective, to have a Julian Blackmon backing up a Jonas Sanker, I like that, man. I think he can deal with that kind of thing. So the Saints made a good move, no doubt about it. In one postseason contest in 2020 as a rookie, he started the game for the Colts, had 5 solo stops. In 2025, Blackmon started the season opener for the black and gold and recorded 7 tackles, 4 of which was solo, 1 pass breakup before being sidelined for the remainder of the year with a shoulder injury. In 24, Blackmon opened all 16 games he played for the Colts, recorded 86 tackles, 6 or 2 of which were solo, a split sack, 3 picks, and 4 pass breakups, 1 fumble recovery to tie the team lead in picks and takeaways with 4. This is arguably the right move. The Saints brought Blackmon to help replace Tyrann Mathieu, but he was only able to play in 1 game in 2025. The safety room is loaded heading into the offseason, arguably all set with Blackmon, Jonas Sanker, and Justin Reed. Last offseason was an argument where Blackmon was the top overall safety available in free agency based on his talent and use. He's still only 27 years old, and now the Saints get a boost early in offseason. Now, it does help, too, to be honest with you. that they do bring Blackman into the fold. It really does, right? Because Blackman played, and like I said, he was a very decent, above decent safety for the Saints. He was slated to start before the injury robbed him of the season. But you know how it go. It was a blessing in disguise because what ultimately happened was the Saints went to Jonas Sanker, and Jonas Sanker made the position his own, and we got great value out of just a fantastic class this season, and hopefully we can kind of build upon what they did. So, and it's interesting going forward. Now, let's kind of just talk about that. Let's kind of linger in that situation and talk about the secondary, if you please. Here's a look at it from a depth perspective at the Saints defense. As you can look, if we could just kind of focus our looks right here upon the secondary room with all these guys right here. Now, ultimately, the Saints had a very decent cornerback situation. Kool-Aid McKinstry, Alontae Taylor, Quincy Riley, all those guys stepped up and played. Jonas Seeker, Justin Reed, and then we had decent depth behind those guys like Isaac Yiadom. Started early, kind of struggled, was replaced by Quincy Riley late. And then, of course, the Saints did pick up other players. Terrell Burgess was also interesting, a good player in practice and on the scout team. When he got an opportunity to get in the game, Terrell Burgess made some plays. Elliot Davison had some plays in the preseason. Rajon Wright been kind of laden around. Then you had Jaden Price, another guy that the Saints had off the practice squad. So we got a few guys off the practice squad. Beanie Bishop Jr. was another guy they added as well. Now, with that being said, there could be some move. Now, Alontae Taylor is the biggest chip right there in terms of the Saints. Now, we do know Double D and Cam Jordan. I ultimately think the Saints will get a team-friendly and player-friendly deal for both those players for a one-year add-on for what was going on. I think they can definitely arrange that. That's no problem for the Saints brass. But looking at what we did in terms of Alontae Taylor with them allowing the defense to dictate their market, getting Julian Blackman back helps out in many ways because it provides them with an additional veteran safety helping out behind Justin Reed and Jonas Sanker right there. We also still have Jordan Howden. So that's Reed, Sanker, Howden, and Blackman, and I think Hugo Amadi is a free agent, and Terrell Burgess, I think he still will be on the team. So we still have a few guys there. Now, in terms of the Alontae Taylor situation, that will be addressed at a later date. In terms of what will happen, we won't totally know what happens with Alontae Taylor until free agency. Like I said, I think the Saints will allow that to dictate the value, and the Saints can go in a multitude of different ways. They can either sign Alontae Taylor. That was a question I asked to the previous situation. Some people said, Q, I will have to cut him loose if he's asking for too much. And then again, maybe we could pivot and go somewhere else. It all depends what your perspective is. Perhaps if they're looking for somebody in a draft at 8th, you could possibly have a Caleb Downs there. I think Caleb Downs would probably be the number one pick if Alontae Taylor, the situation is not addressed in free agency. Remember, it's free agency, then a draft. So I think the Saints are going to be diligent in how they deal with the situation around Alontae Taylor. But having a guy in a secondary to bring him and Julian Blackman back, and then, of course, have Jordan Howden, Justin Reed, and Jonas Sanker, the safety room is looking good. It really is looking good, and I think the Saints are looking to improve upon the secondary, which was actually a bright spot for the defense overall as well. So anyway, let's keep this thing moving, man. Y'all put y'all thoughts in the comment section. Also, feel free to hit the like button as well as we keep the train moving here on the Sports Coma. Let's talk running back, shall we? This is another article put up here by the Sports Illustrated. Talks about the Saints would be a perfect fit for Tyler Algieri. Now, listen, I've talked about this before. I've said it before. The Atlanta Falcons have several free agents. Kyle Pitts is going to be a guy that's going to get some looks at free agency. He could be priced out of their range. He's been there for the last 4 or 5 years for the team. Had a phenomenal year this year. Was a big part. Really stepped up big to help him toward the back end on a winning streak. But in terms of Tyler Algieri, who has been a good complement back to Bijan Robinson, he's hitting the market, and he's always been a very stellar running back. And he could be a guy that is a good fit for the Saints in free agency, depending on where the Saints would what their decision would be. Now, of course, we have Alvin Kamara on a 1 year deal, Kendra Miller on a 1 year deal. We have Devin Neal in the second year of his rookie contract. And, of course, Audric Estime could be re signed as depth for the fourth position. But adding Tyler Algieri, a guy that, there all the Saints could focus on hitting the draft up, maybe getting a Jeremiah Price or a Allen from out of Penn State. Either one of them guys to me would be good. Price early would be a phenomenal back, but Allen late in the draft would also be a good call as well. But regardless how you go, you're going to have to address the position. The Saints have a lot to be excited for about the future. Tyler Shuck seemingly ready for the team's franchise quarterback after putting together a strong second half of the season. Olave found his love for football again and was one of the best under center. But Alvin Kamara slowly heading toward the end of his career. Doesn't have very many years left in the NFL. It seems like the Saints need to begin looking for replacements for their veteran star. While they could be eyeing a running back in the draft, the Saints could also dive into free agency and find the missing piece. Now, John Sigler of Saints Wire linked the Saints to Atlanta Falcons' Tyler Algieri free agency offseason, while Kamara getting older, a free agent addition like this will make plenty of sense. Now, listen, Tyler Algieri has been giving us headaches for years here as a complement running back. He's had some phenomenal games against the New Orleans Saints. He's a guy that can catch out the backfield. He can run inside, outside. He can also pick up blocks for you. He's a good player, a steady player. It's not much of an injury history tied to Tyler Algieri, and he's a pretty durable running back. But and like I said, the market for running backs, I don't expect it to be extremely expensive, but if you're going to get somebody from Atlanta, I'm not mad if you pick up Tyler Algieri, right? Keep him inside the NFC South, have him switch colors, taking off the black and red and put on the black and gold. Now, Tyler Algieri, he's 26. He turns 26 in April. Hasn't gotten to the point in the Atlanta Falcons backfield since his rookie year when he averaged 5 yards a carry. He remained efficient as a change of pace complement to Bijan Robinson. He still has a lot of tread on the tires, could help Saints improve in the red zone, where he scored 7 touchdowns this year. That's big. We can definitely use a power back like that, but he's not just an effective goal line runner. He has a gift of squaring up and powering through. But he's also a guy that can break tackles. He uses his stiff arm. He catches out the backfield. And like I said, he'll be a great addition to help out with in the backfield with the Saints. I have absolutely no issue with this at all. That's as many touchdowns as the Saints manage as a team. Algieri was a very good goal line back for the Falcons this season. In the offense with Kyle Pitts, Bijan Robinson, and Drake London, Algieri was still able to find the end zone nearly 10 times. His production would only increase if he was the focal point of an offense. The Saints could sign Algieri and play him along Kamara for the next year or two when Kamara retires or leaving free agency. Algieri could take over as a lead back, pair this with a potential late round pick, and the Saints will have a much better running back room next year than they had this season before. So this is the thing. In terms of the Bijan Robinson and Tyler Algieri thing, he's ready. I don't think he's a featured back. 26 years old. I think he's still, in my opinion, if you're going to use him, if your main running back is out, but he's a combo back. We want to be able to mix our runners up, so to speak. And the question mark is, if the Saints pivot to Tyler Algieri, then what we do with Kendre Miller? And that's the whole thing. Does Kendre Miller? It's a big question around Kendre Miller. The Saints have no incentive to release Kendre Miller. It's not like he's breaking the bank, right? They can allow him to play out his contract. We know AK-41 is also dealing with some issues, and staying healthy, but we expect him to finish out his career as a Saint. And I think he was almost made it back for the end of the season. I think he'll be 100% healthy for the upcoming season. And having him healthy, having Kendre Miller healthy, all of our runners will be healthy. But like I said, to add Tyler Algieri can only be a plus. As long as we don't get him expensive, I think he can start in spots for you if some of your guys are not there. But I do appreciate the fact that you could utilize him in the offense because, Taysom Hill is going to be gone, and the Saints use Taysom Hill as that thumper running back type when Kendre Miller was out. Perhaps Tyler Algieri could be that guy. But like I said, we don't want to get overly complicated with Kellen Moore. You seen what happened last year, early in the year, and even though that was his first year, he kind of got flustered on what to do with all of those players. He had to really whittle down his players. Like he had to literally get rid of when he traded for Divine Valley. Questions was asked like, dude, what are you doing? Why aren't we using Divine Valley and you traded multiple picks, late rounders, to get the guy and then not put him in the position to start? He just, you know, and anybody said, well, he's not ready. Well, Brandon Cooks wasn't ready either. Brandon Cooks didn't know what the hell he was doing out there. He couldn't block. It just didn't work. So getting Valley eventually going in there, he didn't get rid of Valley till they way later settled with Cooks to get him out of the way to provide reps. So he had issues finding the proper balance and guys that didn't fit. Wasn't a surprise to us because we knew it was a bad call. We said Brandon Cooks shouldn't be the guy to be his, but they're apt to make mistakes. And like I said, he did not know the team like you knew the team. You knew the team. You were kept saying over and over again, we said the same thing, that the Saints need big wide receivers, where they eventually did land Valley before the start of the regular season. They got this other guy, Moose, as well, and added him to the team. So it's good to see there. And I'm pretty sure they'll pick up somebody in the draft as well to add more speed and possible size to the team. By the way, y'all can check out for my Patreon and YouTube membership families. We have the second mock draft available with video breaking down these players. Real phenomenal mock, and we covered and answered a lot of questions and fill a lot of needs on that third mock, man. It was a good mock, man. So y'all, that's available for our Patreon and YouTube membership family. All right. So anyway, I'm for Tyler Algieri at the right price. He's 26 years old, a good goal line runner. We can't really rely on none of the runners that we have. If the Saints pick up early on Jeremiah Love, if he falls to him at the 8 position, if the Saints remain at 8 and Love is on the board, then I say you put Love and Shuck together. And that is something because you get a phenomenal running back. He'll be a 5 to 10 year player for you. He can do it all. You also, you pair him there, and then you would have to go about the business. But I think the Saints really would donate financial resources in free agency of plugging the holes on the offensive line. I think they'll try to go after a veteran guard on that left guard. They'll have, once they free up this money off the cap, the Saints will then pivot. And I think they'll spend some money in free agency landing a starting level left guard to go along with the rest of those guys, because you got 2 bookends there. You can go in the draft and pick you up a guard if you want to. You probably will find one. I don't see a first round guard there. I see, maybe toward the back of the first round, close to the second round. You got a few guys there from Penn State. I own a Pregnon from Oregon. There's a few other guys. But my thing is this. You wouldn't do yourself a disservice by picking up a good left guard there to plug in. And also the Saints need to add some more depth. Now, in the draft, you can draft somebody, and I would dare say have that guy compete with Cesar Ruiz. And like I said, I just offered the Kellen Moore this situation. Nobody wanted Ruiz in a trade. They didn't see his value. They see the tape like we do. We still have him on multiple years here. And my thing is, open up the right guard position for competition. You get what I'm saying? If you draft a guy, let him compete with Cesar Ruiz for that starting spot. Open up that right guard position for competition. We know the left guard position will have somebody there new. Open up the right guard for a position as well. Right? Open that position up and let's have at it. That's what I call for. Let's go ahead on and open up that position, because in the end, I think that will help the Saints overall from an offensive perspective. We need offensive competition there. Open that position and let the guy press Cesar Ruiz for the job. Maybe that'll get, because he, like last year and the last few years, we finally got these people to see that Ruiz out there getting burnt and beat. They were pretending like it was something else. Now you heard Luma sit up there. He admitted he wants to see more out of Cesar Ruiz. So we got them where we want him. Now he has to be able to turn the heat up by giving this guy competition and force him to show what he can do here or be beat out by the other guy. That's what I'm looking at, because the offensive line has to improve. Tali Fuaga will be fully healthy for the 2026 season. Kelvin Banks is going to be good. Despite having his issues, I'm pretty sure when the games matter, those two bookends will be ready to go. McCoy been out for half the damn year, so he should be good to go to start the year off. And we need to kind of bring Luke Fortner back. We need to add some more depth at the right guard position. We still have Torrey Simpkins and a few other people there as well. But we still need to bring in depth along that offensive line. A lot of people there. I mean, well, they still have Akeem Richards. We'll see. Dylan Radunz will be a free agent. Torrey Simpkins is still there. Landon Young coming off IR. I think he's a free agent. Nick Saldiveri, who just I don't know what to think about that guy. And there are a few guys like they pick up Easton Kilty, Xavier Truss, all these guys are here. But Barry Wesley, but Akeem Richards. But we need to really kind of go into free agents. Because remember, toward the back end, before the season started, that's when they made these moves. They made the trade with the Cowboys to get Akeem Richards. They claimed Xavier Truss off the waiver wire from the Texans. And this type of thing they had quickly to add depth. Now with an extended free agency period and clarity on where they need to focus on, they can kind of focus resources. And you might see a couple of maybe 2 or 3 signings happening there, and maybe a draft pick to add to it to kind of put competitions there. You get what I'm talking about? But it's all good, man, and that's what I'm looking for to happen at that position. But in terms of the running back position dealing with Tyler Algieri, I'm all for it if the cost is right, because all it does is add insurance to a beat up running group. It's having Tyler Algieri there, especially in the goal line packages. He's way more durable than what we've seen from the backs over the last couple of years. So getting him in here, he definitely can help out, and he blocks well. He's very smart. He runs well, still young enough, and can help you. And so maybe a 2-year deal with him or something like that could really help, with the Saints running back room. And anytime we get something like that, man, I think that would be a really good plus. All right, y'all hit that like button as we get going. Shout out to you guys. Appreciate y'all for being in the stream, man. Big Q. Sports coma in this thing. Hit that like button and the share button. Let's get into this article right here. This is from ESPN South West Louisiana. They had this 2 Saints named to the all-rookie team, right? The Pro Football Writers Association named this 2025 all-rookie team this past Tuesday. And the pair of New Orleans Saints made the cut. Quarterback Tyler the Shuckinator Shuck and offensive tackle Kelvin Banks Jr. were 2 players that represent the black and gold. How about that? This is the first time multiple Saints have been named to the all-rookie team since 2019 season, where 3 players were selected. The first 2 offensive Saints have been selected there since 2017. Shuck was the team's 2nd-round pick. Didn't get his start until week 10 when the Saints traveled to the Rams. In 9 starts, the 40th overall pick posted a 5-4 record, which is phenomenal for a rookie to do, including 4-game win streak toward the end of the season, and finished the rookie season completing almost 68% of his passes, 3rd highest among qualifying rookies of all time. The stats are just amazing. Over 2,300 yards, 10 touchdowns against 6 picks. Shuck also had 186 yards on 45 carries and reached pay dirt 3 times. Now, what's interesting about Tyler Shuck, we reacted to the interview with Teron Armstead. Shout out to T-Stead. And the temperament of Tyler Shuck when talked about what he did, he even discounted his plays like, okay, it's still a lot to do, man. We finished at the back of the NFC South. Whoop-de-doo. He was, and that's was his mentality going forward. He also talked about the fact that, hey, man, I need to do better. We couldn't have had that many sacks, all this kind of stuff. Because, he admitted twice on the broadcast that he holds on to the ball too much, and I need to fix that. That's accountability. Even T-Stead said, man, I like this guy. This guy right here, he's accountable. You don't hear the last quarterback we paid all that money to. That guy was running from accountability. You had to force it on him. I ain't do nothing. I ain't throw that hospital ball. Big Q did that shit. It was just right. But it's refreshing to have a young quarterback that understands, hey man, even though what I did was record breaking and put me in some really important talent, that doesn't mean anything. We hadn't won anything yet. He said that, in so many words. We haven't won anything yet. We haven't won the NFC South yet. We haven't gotten to the playoffs yet. And I love that guy's temperament, man. And that's what it's going to take to make it. It's going to take that kind of stuff to make it. All right, and also to talk about it, Banks was taken ninth overall by the Saints and was the team starting offensive tackle. The former Texas Longhorns consensus first team All-American and Outland Trophy and Lombardi Award winner in 2025 also led the offensive unit in snaps with over 1,000 of them suckers, man. 1,000 out of 1,120 full snaps, and really he played right up until the last of the season, but like I said, he had some rough times, but overall, you can see that guy is, when it goes down, is probably going to be one of the best offensive linemen we ever had. One of them. I can see some high potential in Kelvin Banks Jr. He's going to be terrific. And even you heard T. Stead and Shuck talk about him knowing the plays and helping the wide receivers, telling them what to do. He studies the playbook. And that's what it's going to take to win. So the full 2025 all-rookie team, offensive, they got Tyler Shuck with the first unit there with the offense, followed by Trevayon Henderson, the fantastic running back, as well. Ashton Genty. You got Emeka there with Ted McMillan. Tyler Warren, the tight end from the Colts. Kelvin Banks is the tackle, blindside tackle. Mambo from the Jets is at the other tackle. Greg Zabel, Tyler Booker, and Jonah Monaheim rounds out the offense. And then you look at the defense, Abdul Carter from Penn State, the giant player, doing really good. Abdul Carter and James Pierce Jr. are phenomenal players. We knew Pierce was going to be a beast. So was Carter. Those guys, Mason Graham and Deion Walker, are the interior tackles. The linebackers, Corey Swessinger was phenomenal for the Browns. Jahad Campbell for the Eagles. Linebacker today, Buckingham for the Ravens. The defensive backs, Will Johnson, Jacob Parrish, Nick Imanowari, and Xavier Watts from the Falcons. Special teams kicker, Andy Borgalis from the Patriots, and punter Jeremy Crawshaw from the Broncos. And you can see the kick return is Shamir Dickey is there, as well as the ST is Carson Broner from the Steelers. So there you go on the special teams, and that's the all-rookie team. So two of the Saints, even though it could have been three Saints or more. Tyler Shuck, obviously. You want to see that, but I guess Xavier Watts had 5 picks for the Falcons. I guess he would be the only guy else that you would consider placing into the rookie with Jonas Sanker, but Watts beat him out with the picks and had a better year. So it is what it is. Anyway, man, that's simply what it is there for that, man. Shout out to them guys for kind of breaking down. There's some more positive stuff to talk about for our players this past season, right? And also, let's take a look at this article right here. Saints predicted to land generational prospect for Cam Jordan. And we'll see how that all kind of works itself out, because the reality at the end of the day is that, Cam, we want Cam to come back. Cam has been on multiple podcasts talking about him wanting to return and come back. He's made no secret about it that he wants to play. And everybody's like, yeah, some people saying, hey, Q, we need to kind of put these escort these guys to retirement and focus on building the team. And you might, some people could see what you're talking about right there. But the really interesting thing is when you get players like this, usually you don't see this, right? You don't usually see that. And what I mean by that is you don't usually see players in their late 30s, right? Getting into their late 30s that have had the kind of years that we've seen from Cam Jordan and Demario Davis. Let's just be honest, man. Cam led the team with 10.5 sacks ahead of Chase Young. Demario Davis had 140 plus tackles. He's never done that, and he had a career high tackles in his long, illustrious career. That's never happened before for a personal best. So if they feel like, hey man, as long as we're performing this well, and really Cam went into the offseason healthy, so did Demario Davis. Now they had some bumps and bruises that he probably ain't tell you about, but nothing severe enough to stop them from playing the game, right? So with that being said, is if you have a Demario Davis or a Cam Jordan and they that successful and playing at a high level and they're willing to do that because they feel like this Saints team could make a playoff push, because Cam wants a Super Bowl. Cam wants a Super Bowl. Double D wants a Super Bowl. So these guys want a Super Bowl and they thinking like, hey man, next year if our defense bring it back, we add some pieces, we can make a run at it. So the question is, do the Saints say, okay, we can have a quantum leap year? And what I'm saying is there are other teams in the league that made the leap in a year. The New England Patriots come to mind that are in the AFC Championship game right now. We know Coach Payton, it took him a couple of years to build up to getting what he needed to do to get that team to where it is. But how about the Patriots? How about the Patriots? The Patriots take the former Titans coach who kind of did some positive things with them. He goes over there in 1 year, and they have some drafts and some signing and all this kind of stuff. And look at the Patriots. The Patriots are back to looking pretty patrioty, from a football standpoint. These guys are in the AFC Championship game, one game away from the Super Bowl in the post Tom Brady era. So we kind of, it probably to take forever for the Patriots to get back. Most certainly nobody's seen them one game away from the playoffs. I mean, a Super Bowl. But we've seen turnarounds happen before. The Patriots are a more recent and more illustrious version of it. We've seen it happen with the Texans when they first got their first coach. We've seen it happen in Jaden Daniels' first year where they excelled and got into the postseason. Of course, he got hurt this year. They couldn't repeat that success. Things were kind of different. But we've seen recent examples of teams turn it around, right? Bounce back and go to another level in the final year. Could the Saints be a team that's ready to make a quantum leap forward? Now, what will make that happen? We had a solid rookie draft. We had a solid free agency period, to be honest with you. We had some guys that we signed and they made some really solid trades to help out as well. What I'm talking about, you're talking about them bringing in Akeem Richards. He wasn't fantastic, but he was solid, especially toward the back when some of those backups were able to repeat in back-to-back games. They got a rhythm. They started understanding. And those reps are going to only help them going into next year to be even stronger backups. So a lot of the starters were out. The backups step in, they learn a system, and they become better backups because of the live game reps help power them up, right? And the Saints were able to put on some streaks and do some positive stuff. Now it's time for reinforcement of the position. We know that the offensive line is somewhere that needs to be taken care of. And that is something that they'll end up having to do. But Cam Jordan knows what the Saints, they have an idea from an offensive standpoint, what they want to do with this team in free agency and the draft moving forward. And if the Saints have a solid signing period in free agency where they address needs. Let's say, for instance, instead of going into the draft to pick up an offensive lineman to fill the left guard role, let's say the Saints sign one of the one or two top offensive guard in the free agency cycle. They'll have to rework contracts because they, as it stands, hold on, let me take a look at it right now. Let me get that over the cap figure for y'all, man, and let me look at it. Y'all hit that like button as we do this, man. Shout out to y'all for being in the stream, man. Much love. And shout out to the Patreon champions and the YouTube membership family, man. Like I said, we got the third mock draft up for our Patreon people, not to mention the second part of the oil war went live on Tuesday. At 5 o'clock on our Patreon channel. It's breaking down that whole oil game that's going on with the U.S. I put all kind of research in it, showed some videos, kind of gave some enlightenment. It was some good work, and we got a third part coming out soon too, and other things that we'll be talking about on that particular stream. So anyway, yeah, shout out to you guys, man. Y'all making it happen for us. As you can see, all the improvements that we making here on PPR, man. On the PPR. I got all kind of stuff going on the Sports Coma. But anyway, let me give you all this right here, and then we'll bounce back to that article Right here is the money check for the Saints. As you can see right now, as of today, the Saints are 20.3 mil, 20.3 mil in the red currently. And as you can see, a lot of these salaries they'll have to rework. The highest salary coming up in 2026 is the Chase Young deal. They'll have to rework all of that. They'll have to rework all of that. They'll have to rework the Chase Young deal, extend Cam Jordan, and that'll kind of cut down some of that money. But give Cam Jordan an extra year, Demario Davis an extra year. But they're going to cut down. They're going to restructure Chase Young's contract, Elvin Kamara's contract, Carl Granderson, Eric McCoy. They'll eventually extend Chris Olave's deal. That'll add more money. They're restructuring Cesar Ruiz, Jawan Johnson, Justin Reed, Pete Werner, and guys like that. Divine Gacho could, and then of course you get into cut candidates Isaac Yiadom and Divine Gacho. Do you keep hold of those guys? Yiadom's making 3.6 mil. Do you restructure or you just go in a different direction? Because I think if they take a guy in the draft. Isaac Yiadom is not. I don't think I ain't gonna say he's not worth it, but I think we can find better value. Well, he make it 2.5. Isaac Yiadom make it 2.5 million as a fourth cornerback for you. I think we can do better. Maybe find somebody else, but we'll see. And Divine Gacho, man, didn't look good in his first year with the Saints. He was pushed from a starting position to a backup role. Guys went before him, and that's not good enough for a guy. And he's making $6.4 million this year, so he'll be a restructure guy. Could be a cut candidate. We'll see what happens there. But the reason why I'm showing that is just the money is just to be obvious that the mindset for the Saints is, what's the approach? Are we going to take a 2 to 3 year build to get the team to where we want, or will we seen in the later half of the year or half of the year in those 9 games is enough to go all in right quick? We got Cam, we got Demario Davis, because that could decide on how fast the Saints act in free agency. You get what I'm saying? Because it has to be the mindset. If Cam and Double D are going, the Saints can kind of slide or glide into a situation where they just stay what they're doing. We're just going to sign guys in the draft. We're going to kind of try to keep the money down. We're going to restructure and do this sort of thing. But if Cam and Demario come back, what a lot of people anticipate, and do the Saints then kind of pick up their steps, so to speak, and get really into it, where they be like, hey, man, we got Double D back for one more year, Cam back for another year. Let's swing for the fences here. I know we just got this going, but we got Shuck, we got Chris Olave, we got Elvin with 1 year left on his deal. Let's see if we can kind of go in right quick. Let's kind of not go in on a last year type situation, but what I'm saying is kind of step it up a bit, as opposed to take more of a patient approach in working through the draft, taking the best offensive guard in the draft in the second round. Doing this slow build type thing. You get what I'm saying? Like young teams seem to do. Do the Saints say, hey, we're going to go into free agency, get that left guard position, get one of the first or the second or first or the second best guy. We're going to get one of those guys in the draft. We're going to, add some more help. We're going to sign Luke Fortner. We're going to draft the guy in free agency. In the draft to compete with Cesar Ruiz. You see what I'm saying? Because really the Saints defense is adequate. They'll have to see about Alontae Taylor there to bring him back, if he's expensive or not. And then, of course, if they have a solid free agency, then they can just pick the best players in the draft. And I think that's what a lot of teams like to do. At times, it's like see if they can meet the demand in free agency. Get a couple of offensive linemen, depth-wise for the offensive line to protect my second-year quarterback. Get a valuable running back to add into the running back room, Tyler Algieri, something like that. Bring him in there. Maybe get a veteran wide receiver to compete in the room with the rest of some of these unproven guys. Add there. Pick up, a veteran tight end, because we're going to need to get a tight end as well. They'll have more than enough money to go into free agency and pick up quality veterans, either top tier or second tier guys that can fill some needs, because the Saints don't have a lot of needs offensively speaking. They just need to kind of beef up some of the depth, especially on offensive line. They got a hole at the left guard position, competition for the right guard. Fortner re-signed to back up Cesar Ruiz, and some help at the tackle position. Backup tight end, another running back, whether in the draft or free agency, to kind of balance that room. Maybe finding a fullback or a tight end type that can do the blocking, like we've seen Matavo doing. He was playing as fullback, tight end. They were doing this kind of stuff. We do have Mason Pline. He'll be healthy. So there were a couple of guys that we're not thinking about that the Saints have on staff that they did bring that got hurt. That could be possible guys, right? We know when we start talking about, we know Audric Estime should be brought back. There's a lot of talent in the wide receiver room. Mason Tipton is there. Devon Belly, he'll be happy. We got Trey Palmer, right, who was brought in. So there are guys that the Saints picked up last year that did not see the field. Jalen Polk is going to be special for the Saints wide receiver room. They're going to give him an opportunity to step in there. So don't forget that when we're talking about guys like Carnell Tate and all this kind of stuff. The Saints could very well add a veteran to the mix, but Jalen Polk is seen as a second-round pick for the Saints, even though they dished out a sixth-rounder to get him, right? This not a guy that was been in the league for 3 or 4 years. This guy just been in the league for, 2 years now. And the Saints basically traded a sixth-round pick for a second-round talent. And he's already working with guys like Tyler Shuck to get better. They was out fishing together. They're going to be working. They saying Shuck was giving them all kind of praise in a Teron Armstead interview, talking about how he working, how he studying film, and how he wants to get back. And if you watch tape on Jalen Polk, the guy is awesome, man. He runs good routes. He got a good attitude. I like Jalen Polk. I like how he'll fit with Devon Valley and Chris Olave in that room. But there are other guys that you add behind him. You got Damon Alford, Bub Means, who coming back from injury. How about Trey Palmer? Trey Palmer is a 24-year-old vet, been with different teams. He's with Tampa Bay. Trey Palmer is a good wide receiver, and he's very fast. So the Saints have guys like that we forget about, right? So we'll see how that all syncs going forward. But man, it's going to be interesting. We do have a couple of them other guys like Mason Pline and all these guys that'll be healthy. Remember, they signed Pline. They were really big on Pline. He got hurt, and he'll be healthy to come and see if we can help in the Saints in that tight end room. So that's another positive to kind of look out for. So there are players that did get hurt that we really want to see step up and kind of step in there. So what's the mentality on that for the New Orleans Saints is what I'm asking. Because of the what they showed in those 9 games, do they kind of get a pep in their step and go veterans in places that they probably would have done with draft picks? So the Saints will rework it. They're going to free up cap, and we'll see how it goes. But how they're moving right now, they're excited about this upcoming season. They signed Julian Blackman. We covered that early in the broadcast. They brought in Miles Cole. He's a big defensive line. So they're picking up these guys, and they bring them in here. They're making these signings. And they're adding to the team right now. They're not waiting. They're taking a patient approach. They're going to go into free agency. They're going to fill in some of these positions in the offensive line, and they're going to move on. So Cam and Demario Davis is thinking, hey, man, let's go ahead and get that chip. We can press a little hard. The NFC South is wide open. Carolina backed into the playoffs and back right on out the playoffs. Atlanta got a new coach in Kevin Stefanski. It's going to take a minute for him to get that together. He usually ain't good with quarterbacks, so I don't know why they went and picked him up. So, I mean, I see all the Atlanta people. They all excited about Kevin Stefanski. And I'm like, man, I would be I would have probably picked up Mike McDaniels. I'm going to be honest with you. I would have signed Mike if I was the Atlanta. See, that's what that vampire up there doing. That vampire up there, he ain't picking coaches because of the talent. He picking them because he like their blood type. That's what's going on up there with them Atlanta Falcon people. They picking that damn Count Blackula. He ain't picking because of talent. He picking because of blood type. You see what I'm saying? That what the hell going on? I see what's going on. They too blind. They can't see they got a Dracula character running around out there. But I would have been Mike McDaniel probably would have been a good bet for them. They need somebody to run the offense. You got Jeff Ulbrich. You needed an offensive-minded coach that has some level of creativity to him. And I like how Mike McDaniel's offenses look. I like how he runs his stuff, and I thought Mike McDaniel would have been a good get. Or at least if you're Stefanski, you're going to get Mike McDaniel and bring him in as your offensive coordinator, which more than likely that's not going to happen because he has his own people that he's going to bring in. But the bottom, despite besides that, in Tampa Bay is having some issues. So the Saints, in my perspective, Saints and Carolina are the teams that should be fighting for this NFC South crown next year, and we swept the Panthers this year, and we'll sweep them again this upcoming season. As we go into this broadcast, and listen, fam, we know that the what's going to be interesting about this whole situation with the Saints is a lot of people are excited because they believe that the Saints can have a major step up, right? A major step in the right direction, just like you've seen teams like the New England Patriots do once they got a quarterback, they had the pieces around them, and they basically had a 1 year leap to the AFC Championship game. Now, they just needed the leader to put it all together. Now they had the pieces there; they just underachieved. But when you made the right coach, he put it together. He understood the culture, and they were able to build on that and have an opportunity to not only stay healthy enough to be able to be competitive week after week and be in the AFC Championship game rather against the Broncos, a former Sean Payton, who's back in the championship, a conference championship game. So that's very interesting as well, and it won't have to take 2 or 3 years, for the Saints to get there. Like we got an eye, not only just getting the quarterback, but also having an identity to play behind is a major part of the losing. If we had salvaged that, we can be able to then be about the business of winning. And the Saints appear to have found an identity offensively and defensively as they are now on the mend to get healthy. They'll have guys like Alvin and Kendre Miller. Plus, we can go into free agency and address and upgrade key areas of the team. So in this broadcast, let's just drop right into the Saints blueprint as discussed here. Let me share my screen with you to go a little bigger there. Uh, for completion, now this is for 2026 NFC South contention, which is what we want to do. So the vibe shifted around the Saints halfway through the season. A perfect offseason for the Saints would have looked like a complete teardown at the time. The Saints were in the running for the number one pick in the draft before Shuck took over. There was speculation about the possibility of earning the number one pick and trying to use it on somebody like Fernando Mendoza. With no sign of hope, a perfect offseason at the time looked like a complete rebuild and the overhaul. And he ain't lying. The way the Saints look, man, you would definitely think that. So it's not the case. When Tyler Shuck took over and the Saints went 5-4 and 9 starts with him in 2025, now he's firmly planted as the team's starting quarterback moving forward. The Carolina Panthers, the Saints beat twice with Shuck under center, won the NFC South with an 8-9 record. With the way the Saints played and the 9 starts with Shuck, they could compete for a division as soon as next year if they can just run it back. But that wouldn't be a perfect offseason. The Saints should be aiming higher. So as we get into it, let's see what the author of this article wants to say what that is, right? Pending free agents, right? Of the group of pending free agents, finding a way to keep at least Cam, DeMario, Alante Taylor in town would be a good start. If Taysom Hill wants to play another year for cheap, the Saints should find a way to keep him as well. If the Saints can keep at least 3 or 4 here, that's a step in the right direction and would help keep leadership in place for a team with plenty of young guys. Now, listen, a lot of people is like, man, let's just move beyond these guys. The motive has changed, right? The ideology has changed because when you talk about Cam Jordan, who led the team with 10.5 sacks, the Mario Davis had over 140 plus sacks, and Alante Taylor, who's not a older guy, but a guy that played well in Staley's system. And then, of course, you mix Taysom Hill and Taysom. Out of those 4 guys, Taysom's the only one dealing with a shoulder issue. He got hurt in the last game of the season, and Taysom is up in age, but you can make a argument that those 4 guys were incredibly impactful and productive for the Saints. When Taysom Hill's catching passes, whether he's running the football, blocking for you, and all this type of stuff, Taysom is a weapon. So they kind of look at it and say, let's retool up because maybe we can have a jump like the Patriots for this upcoming season. Could the Saints have that? That's yet to be determined. So what do we do? Dependent free agency talked about that, getting those guys back. Wide receiver at the position, the Saints need another playmaker. Chris Olave is a superstar. Divine Belly looked like a stud after Rashid Shaheed was traded, but the Saints need more. They can go to the draft route and take someone like Jordan Tyson out of Arizona State with the 8th pick in the draft. If the Saints don't draft someone highly, they need to look to free agents or trade market, trade market for a number two option in free agency, considering Debo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, or someone to consider on the trade block or free agency if released, right? And of course, like I said, we'll go back and address each one of these in the draft. Again, taking a receiver should be an option with the number 8 pick. If the Saints don't like the receivers available, Notre Dame running back Jeremiah Love somehow drops, he could be the pick. Getting a cost-controlled offensive weapon would be a good start in the first round. If not an offensive weapon, a pass rusher will be ideal. In summary, the Saints don't have a perfect roster by any means, but they can compete in the NFC South, keeping their veteran pending free agents, adding a big name number 2 wide receiver, at least one pass rush, and potentially a cornerback will be enough for the offseason to be perfect. Now, in respect to the writer, the interesting thing about the group is Demario Davis, Cam Jordan. I think those guys come back. Matter of fact, let me pull up this little information right here from Over the Cap that I want to share with you guys. You can see right here on screen. You can see for yourself here. Uh, this is the Saints 2026 free agents and the market value of the what they would deem as the annual market value for the Saints, or what they predict the value could be annually, for this team, for that particular player. And you can see the previous number, right, per year, right, 8.6 million for Demario Davis. But if you look at Alontae Taylor, 1.8 on the rookie contract. He's 27 years old. 1.8 on the rookie deal. Look at that. That annual market value is jumping from just under 2 to over $11 million. That's what they're looking at Alontae Taylor for. He's considered maybe the second. Some free agent list has him marked as the third, but some consider Alontae Taylor the second best cornerback in this free agency class, which means he'll get some attention, right? So according to a Sport Track, they're kind of averaging his market value at 11.1 mil. Now, that is interesting because what it does, it gives me, a barometer to say, okay, will I pay, let's say it's a 4-year deal at $44.5 million for Alontae Taylor, which is 11.1 or 11 million a year. Is that something that I'm easily to do? To be honest with you, if that is correct, and I think I think it could be more than that. I think actually it should be more than that. And the market will dictate the value. This is just calculations of thinking how would it be in 2026 free agency market at 11.1 plus. Now, what's interesting about this whole dynamic is that if it's 11.1 mil for Alontae Taylor, I think I would pay that. I think I'll give him $11 million per year. It'd be like a what a 45 4 years at $45 million. And then you probably have to work out whatever the guaranteed money of that is. But at the end of the day, Alontae Taylor to stay in the Saints defense at 44 or $45 million, which basically break down at just roughly over 11 million a year, to me is a good bet. Right, that's a good bet. But I don't think it's going to be that cheap because if you go back to when we lost Paulson Adebo to free agency, there was an idea that the Saints wanted to sign Paulson Adebo. They wanted him back until the Giants came along and said, hey, man, we'll give you $18 million a year. And the Saints said, oh, you have a nice life up there with the Giants. And I think he had one pick last year. So, and plus, of course, they got a new coach at Harbaugh now to kind of turn the thing around. But the Saints wasn't paying Paulson Adebo $18 million a year. It just wasn't going to do it. And of course, and the crazy part about it is Paulson Adebo has accrued more interceptions than Alontae Taylor. Alontae Taylor is a good defensive back, but his coverage skills is not all that. It really isn't. right? He needs to work on his coverage. He'll come up and tackle and do all that kind of stuff. Love that. But over his time with the Saints, he has 4 years being with the Saints. He got like 4 picks. So it's like a pick a year. Paulson Adebo had 10. You see what I'm saying? He had 10. So what I'm saying is what elevates your market is your interceptions. If you're a person that get interceptions, they'll pay you for that. Like I've said before, touchdowns, whether you're running them or catching them or throwing them, get you paid. On a defensive side, sacks get you paid, whether you're a defensive lineman, linebacker, or even a safety. If you're a safety that get a high degree of sacks, then that bodes very well for you. But on the back end, as you get closer to the back of the defense, what really shines supreme is interceptions. So they'll pay you for interceptions, but have 4 interceptions over 4 years, averaging a pick a year. I don't know if they're going to be. Not at least the Saints are going to say, okay, we're going to pay you 15 million a year. I just don't see that. Now, I want Alontae Taylor to stay, but he's unrestricted. The Saints have no control over where he goes, and totally is cool with him deciding and letting the market decide. Now, according to this, and I think this is a little depressed, but 11.1 is what they're saying that the market is. Now, this could go up because some teams will bid on his services, and that ultimately means that when that happens, then that'll elevate that number, and we'll see where he is because Alontae's looking to get paid. Right? He's looking to get paid. And of course, Demario Davis. Demario Davis, 8.6 is what the previous AAV is. The market value has him at 9.4 million, just under $1 million increase for Davis in terms of his AAV. Cam Jordan, that's just over 6 million after this all the stuff happened last year with the restructures and all this kind of stuff, and you can see them saying that at 6.7. So whatever the elevated market is different for Demario and Cam based on the fact that they don't want to go anywhere. The Saints know there's no other team to balance them against from a leverage standpoint. Cam wants to finish as a Saint, so does Demario. So they'll be more inclined. I ain't saying give them a cheap deal, but still get your bread. But the Saints are going to look for a deal, a 1 year deal where it will kind of be respectful to both Demario and Cam and be efficient enough for the Saints to still be able to function to build the team because these veterans coming back for one more again. They believe in the Saints offense. They think that this team could get into the playoffs and maybe make a push on it. But once again, that's totally contingent upon about how the Saints handle free agency and the draft. That's the bottom line. Do they really see the needs that need to be met? Is the question. Do you really see that you need help internally with that offensive line? Do you see you need help at both guard spots? Do you see you need a reliable center backup option because Eric McCoy keeps getting hurt? Do you really see these things, or are you just playing games? If you really want to fortify, you can beef up the line like the Saints. Like I said before, when the other previous guy left, he did not lead the coverage bare. He didn't have a lead at the QB position. You got one now to wrap around the team, right? And growing and getting better. All you have to do is you have to beef up your offensive line with depth as well as replacing the guards, get a bona fide, you already got the center and Luke Fortner. Luke Fortner shouldn't cost a lot of money. Matter of fact, let's jump to Luke Fortner now. Luke Fortner, 27.7. That's what they're saying about Luke Fortner, but he's on that rookie deal. Off the rookie deal, now unrestricted free agent. He might get some takers that's looking at Luke Fortner because he played really well in Eric McCoy's absence. He played really well. Toward the back end, he really started to get the hang of it as a part-time starter. But you can see his numbers at 1.5 according to Sport Track, and then of course the market value at 6 million a year. Do you pay that for Luke Fortner? Do you give Luke Fortner a 3 year deal at 24 million? Would that sound about right for a quality backup center like Luke Fortner? Would you give him that? A 3 year, $24 million deal, or a 3 year, $25 million deal for Luke Fortner. I will pay that for a quality reserve lineman that I can use to bring in there that knows the system, that played the games. And if McCoy steps out, he knows the protections, he knows what's to do. I'll pay that kind of money for a backup center because if McCoy gets hurt again, you're going to need somebody that knows the snap count that the quarterback worked with from the past so you don't have a problem trying to get another guy to do it. So I would pay Luke Fortner 3 years, 25 million to hang around. I certainly would. Do you get? So anyway, and then of course Foster Moreau, I would say sayonara to Foster. We can do better. Dylan Redunce, the same thing, and Taysom Hill, who have an injured shoulder, who is 36 years of age. Man, listen, that's an interesting dilemma within itself. But like if you journey down the rest of this list, you can see the ERFAs, or the restricted exclusive rights free agents, as they're called. We got four of those in a row. Zaire Mitchell Payton, which I can't say one way or the other, one way whether you should see him. We didn't see enough of him. Kai Kroger kind of faded on the back end, and if I was the Saints, I would bring Kai Kroger back, because these exclusive right free agent deals are usually pretty cheap, which means that the Saints will probably more than likely sign all of these guys back. To get Zaire Mitchell Payton back, to get Kai Kroger back, and then bring competition from free agency or undrafted status to bring him in here after the draft is over. We bring an undrafted guy to kick up against him. They might bring back the other punter that he barely beat out, and bring him back and let him try it again. Because I actually thought that last punter, before they settled on Kai Kroger, I actually thought it was going to be the other punter who won the job, not Kroger. And that surprised me. Rajon Wright and Isaiah Stallberg, no doubt about it. I think all the restricted right free agents are coming back. Because the contracts are cheap. And then when you get beyond some of the top money guys we talked about, like Luke Fortner and all these other guys, this is what you got remaining. You got John Ridgeway, who the Saints traded for from the Commanders to get here. Spent a lot of time on the inactive list. He was hurt for a little bit, came back, big guy. Won't be expensive to bring, so it'd be interesting to look at him. Chris Rump the second. Is it time for Fadil Diggs to step in? Chris Rump the second really provided some good depth for the defense, and maybe you don't want to upset certain things. Like I could see guys like Chris Rump the second, Jonathan Bullitt. They already signed Julian Blackman back to provide safety support back there, and whatnot. Jonathan Bullitt, definitely, I believe he should sign back. Ugo Amadi, could be, because he's a good special team guy that helps out in the fire plug. Chris Rump the second should be brought back, unless you want to go with Fadil Diggs. John Ridgeway, probably not. I like John Ridgeway, but there are other options. You've seen Vernon Brockton and other guys that's going to step up, so the minutes might be kind of slacking on him. But like I said, some of these guys are going to have contracts that are inexpensive. And it'll be cool to see. But Jonathan Bullard played. I think we really should sign Jonathan Bullard back. I really like how he played in the defense. He was good with the run. He also provided support. He also caused Divine Gajo to be demoted on the defensive interior, because Bullitt was out there playing. And these are guys that were later on additions by Coach Staley. He added these guys, Chris Rump and Jonathan Bullard and Jonah Williams, guys like that, and had them brung to the team. So anyway, that's some of the guys to kind of talk about, family, in terms of what we do and what is the market value, the AAV, for some of these guys according to Sport Track. 11.1 seems depressed to me, in meaning it's a little low, and maybe when the market starts, you can see that number elevate based on how many teams will compete for Alontae Taylor's service. So you see that market value rise a bit. It's the only Saint that we have that's has an AAV over double digits. Everybody else is veterans and whatnot that we should be able to sign back at an inexpensive rate, giving them more money than they got before, but still in all fortifying the depth. And this is one of the free agency cycles right here where the Saints really don't have a lot of people to do. They got a lot of people that were valuable on this list that will not break the bank. The only one here that you're looking at that will probably have more of an elevated contract to spin on, because you already got Chris Olave under contract, as Alontae Taylor. If you want Alontae Taylor back, I would spend $12 million. I don't think it's going to stay there. I think it'll get north of $15 million. But I think the Saints have a limit on what they're going to willing to pay Alontae Taylor, and feel comfortable that the market will be down enough for them to consider re-signing him. So just one more look for you guys to kind of take a look at right here on this list to see if you guys understand. Man, we ain't working. We ain't got a lot going on at all when you talk about this sort of stuff here. Now, like I said, we just talked about this. We bounce it back and just kind of go into it because, like I said, those are the pending free agency. Now let's look at the wide receivers that is mentioned. The Saints have, another playmaker. Chris Olave is the star. Divine Valley's there. Rashid Shaheed is traded. Saints need more. They go to the draft route. You talking about Jordan Tyson? I like Carnell Lake better than Jordan Tyson. I would not spend the eighth pick on Jordan Tyson. I'm sorry, I just wouldn't. That's just me. I think if nobody else is there, there are other more higher players on my board that I will go with. That is not named Jordan Tyson. I don't get me wrong, Jordan Tyson is a phenomenal player, but I don't think the top need for the Saints is wide receiver. If you want to really seriously want Tyler Shuck to be protected and have access to the running game, you might want to give him weapons in that spear, right? And I think the Saints will attack that in free agency once they restructure all these double digit contracts and Divine Gacho and Isaac Yidam and some of these other guys. Once they start restructuring those contracts, you're going to see the Saints get north because I think right now, let me see over the cap right now, showing you right now what the cap figure is for the team. You can see for yourself right here that cap is 20.3 mil, man. $20.3 million right now in the red. So the Saints will have to be about the business of chopping that down, which they will do later on. And then what will end up happening is the Saints will have probably north of anywhere between 20 to $30 million in free agency money. Might be more depending on how many contracts they do, because they can do a bunch of contracts. Like looking right here, how Mickey usually do them, he chops these contracts down very fine. Like Chase Young's going to get restructured, and his base salary this year is 14.8. They can whittle that down and for a couple of $1 million and save like $12 million on Chase Young's deal, depending on how fast they can, what they want to do to kind of restructure. You're going to see a restructure on Cam. On Chase. You're going to see 11.5 from Elvin Kamara get chopped down, restructured. Carl Grandison 10.7 restructured. Eric McCoy 10 million restructured. Chris Olave at 15.4 plus in this option year. But the bottom line is they'll get a contract done, and that first year probably drop it less than $2 million. So you'll save money there as well. They'll restructure Ruiz's contract. They'll if they need to go and Justin Reed restructure him, and Jawan Johnson, as well as Divine Godcho and Pete Werner. It depends on how far Nate Shepard and his 3.9 million. They'll just keep chopping and chopping down if they need to, right? And do it like that. And then if they go that far into the roster, the Saints could probably free up something north of $30 million, depending on how far they chop it. They can really put a lot of money there. And we've seen this before where he restructured damn near everybody's contract and ended up with a bunch of money, but that kicks into the future, which the Saints don't have any problem with paying any dead money. As you can see right here on the dead money toll right here, the Saints have over $65 million in dead money, and the largest offender of this list is Derek Carr's 36.6 plus. You see? So, like I said, man, the Saints feeling pretty comfortable because they're getting good value out of some of these players, and a lot of the guys, older veterans that want to come back, like Demario Davis and Cam Jordan. These guys are not incredibly expensive, are going to be expensive for the Saints, meaning they can spend some of that money where they need to, meaning internally on the defense. And then when you go into the offense, the idea, the philosophy is try to find as much as you can find the need for in free agency without having to spend a lot. Like you can go and get a big chip. Like the Saints can go and say, okay, we really feel good. We needed to get somebody here. I think the left guard could be a position where the Saints say, let's spend some money right there. We got our quarterback in the future of Tyler Shuck. Let's spend some money at the left guard position. And then maybe in the draft, they can go into that position as well in the second or third round, preferably in the third round, and see if they can find an offensive lineman there they can put into there and kind of compete with Cesar Ruiz. And like I said before, and we'll get into the offensive line, but I just think that'll be the move. Now, in terms of the wide receivers, let's stay on course with the wide receivers because Chris Olave is good. He will be healthy for the start of the season. So with Divine Valley, the Saints gave up draft picks. And also don't forget this article, I ain't gonna say it ignores, but it does not mention Jalen Polk. The Saints gave up a 6th round pick for a 2nd round talent. The guy been in the league for 2 years. And Tyler Shuck talked about him in one of the interviews. He's on a frenzy right now doing all these different interviews. But he mentioned Jalen Polk. He talked about him. They went fishing, all this kind of stuff, saying how he's studying film and how they're going to be working with Drew Brees in the offseason. So I think the Saints feel comfortable with the wide receivers they assembled. Like getting Divine Valley was a good move. He's a big physical wide receiver. He caught some difficult catches. Getting Jalen Polk, who is not a fast or a burner of a wide receiver, but he runs good routes. He blocks. I love his attitude, and he makes tough catches. You can count on him. So, I can see, and of course, like I said, the Saints wide receiver room, they have 11 wide receivers or so. I want to say either 11 or 12. Y'all correct me in the chat. Wide receivers they currently have on the team. I mean, none of them outside of the top three we talk about are like big names that you might know. It's Kevin Austin Jr., it's uh, several other guys, but that's on the squad. But at the end of the day, what I'm saying is, as a team, right? As a team, the New Orleans Saints doing more than enough. They have wide receivers there. I don't see it as in man. I ain't gonna say it's a point that you need to go after with the first round. Like it ain't like a player. Like I like Carnell Tate, but like I said, I would be more inclined to look elsewhere. But when we talk about wide receivers, let me just name all of them so I won't leave nobody out. Damian Moose Alford, that's the 6'6", 210 pound a rookie, a Utah wide receiver they picked up. He was the last one they picked up, right? That's Kevin Austin Jr., 6'2", 200 pounds. There's Ronnie Bell, who's 6 feet, 200 pounds from Michigan. Elijah Cook, 6'4", 215. Chris Olave's in the mix. Pettis is a free agent. Samari Toure is 6'1", 200 pounds. He's also in the mix. And then there are other guys that kind of talk about that's lesser mentioned guys that's on the practice squad or the injury reserve. You're talking about Bub Means, 6'2", 215. Bub Means is going to be healthy. Trey Palmer, the third-year man from Nebraska, 6'1", 190. The dude can run. He's a speed demon. Remember, the Saints picked him up hurt, too. The Saints got both Jalen Polk. I think they claimed Trey Palmer, if I'm not mistaken. They claimed him off of waivers or something like that. I have to look it up, or perhaps they signed him. I forgot how they acquired him. But hold on, fam. Give me a second. I forgot how they signed. I think they signed him somewhere. Let me be familiar. If they didn't claim him or something, or how that went. Hold on here. Let me look, because Trey Palmer can't be overlooked either. That dude he got skills, man. He got skills too. So he was talking about Palmer. I'm trying to figure out how we got him. Mm. Because like I said, yeah, they claimed him. That's what I thought, man. Back in late August, they claimed him off the wire, and some kind of way he was hurt. Yeah, it happened back in August 27th of last year. Yeah, the NFL office Saints added wide receiver, former Tampa Bay Buccaneer wide receiver Trey Palmer, off the waiver wire, and then they released a couple of players to make room for him. Also, additionally, the Saints picked up Denver Bronco offensive lineman Xavier Truss, who signed with Denver as a rookie free agent. So when they claimed two guys, they claimed Xavier Truss, and they also claimed Trey Palmer off the waiver wire. And Trey Palmer got hurt, and after that he was shelved, and he's still on the team. So that's how they ended up with him. I just wanted to get a little backdrop because I was like, I forgot how they got him. But yeah, there you go. So anyway, you know, there's him. Bub Means is Trey Palmer, Jalen Polk, Mason Tipton. We talked about Divine Belly. So they have a lot of wide receivers available, right? A lot of guys coming off the free agent list. Like I said, Jalen Polk, 6'1", 203, second year man. So it's like he played in his first year, didn't play a lot for the Patriots, and the Saints gave them a sixth round pick for the man and they basically got a second round talent, and it was a futuristic move for the team. I'm sorry, the Saints gave them a seventh round pick. Hold on, yeah, there was the Polk. Hold on, that was 4 months ago. The Patriots traded Polk, who had a shoulder issue, and a 2028 seven round pick, 2028 to the Saints for the Saints 2027 pick. So it's not even the sixth round pick this year. It's next year's pick, the 27 for Polk. So the Saints, you know, they got a seven round pick and Polk, and they gave up a six round pick for 2027 to get Deshaun Polk. So like I said, he doesn't have full speed, but if you watch the footage of him at Washington and how he used to play, he's faster than what he looks. And like I said, man, I think the Saints doing they got some stuff. So anyway, the reason I'm saying I'm bringing that up because I think people when they write some of these articles, they could talk about Divine Valley, they could talk about Chris Olave, but they're forgetting Jalen Polk is in the mix, and Jalen Polk will be a part of those wide receivers. He won't be one of these guys that's not going to play. Jalen Polk will be a part. He will be a member and a contributor to the Saints wide receiver room. Now, with all those names I said, there's other guys that maybe you can throw. It wouldn't be bad if you throw a veteran in there, but to say you're going to spend some money on a tier one guy or a tier two, I can see a Saints getting a tier three guy, or if they can get the guy for the right price, maybe you do that. Because if you're going to swing for the fences, you might want to get you a veteran. He could do nothing but help with the Saints system. If that's the case, I have no problems against that at all. But I do think the Saints, in their minds to a degree, have the three wide receivers that they want to go into the future with: Divine Valley, Chris Olave, and Polk. And then you have all these other guys that they're also interested in as well. So we'll see how that shifts. But the guy mentioned 249 wide receivers in Debo Samuel and Brandon Ayuk. None of them guys is going to be cheap, and both of those guys come with injury concerns. I like, uh, you know, maybe getting somebody else, a big physical wide receiver there, but we'll see how they deal with it, right? And of course, they talk about the draft. They talk about option. I don't think we should take a wide receiver with the number 8 position. If Jeremiah Love is there, I'm taking him. I'm just going to be honest with you because of the overall long view. Because obviously, the Saints showing you that they're a team that are a futurist to a degree if they're claiming guys and then and making trades for players, and the player can't contribute this year and he'll be ready for next year. Obviously they're forward thinking. So if that's the case, that logic will continue. If you're picking number 8 and you have an opportunity to get a back that some people will argue was better than the last back that was taken in last year's draft, or about the same way, and you get them at 8, and you know damn well the Saints is not going to be picking at 8 after they start building up on this team. So you can get a knockdown, drag out, star type talent to go along with Tyler Shuck. So if you're going to do that, you get him a weapon like that running back, and that guy will be with Tyler Shuck for the majority of his football career. It take pressure off of the quarterback, right, to hand the ball over to a guy that's a just an absolute playmaker. You'll have Elvin Kamara to mentor him, and it provides security and excitement about the Saints offense to have another spark plug added to the offense, and then the Saints just keep on moving along. So if Love is there, I'm taking him. If Love is not there, and it depends on what they do in free agency, if we don't get Alontae Taylor, we get somebody else. But usually, I can see the Saints trying to appease all they need. So Alontae Taylor needs to be resigned. If not, then you go with somebody else. We see how it works. A veteran wide receiver in free agency, a starting left guard, probably a tier 1 guard. The Saints will go for the plug in between Kelvin Banks Jr. and Eric McCoy, and possibly maybe drafting or signing another guard to compete with Cesar Ruiz at the right guard position. Now let's focus on that for a second, right? Let's kind of focus on that for a second because we're going to then move into guys that we should sign, or things or moves that should be made on the next article, right? But that's a point too. Cesar Ruiz position needs to be opened up for. He needs to, even though he's listed as a starter, there needs to be an open competition for his job for 2026 for this year. There needs to be maybe if the Saints get a left guard there and then they bring a guy, they need to open that up. Is what I'm saying. We need to open that up because we need competition now, and there's no trade value or market for Cesar Ruiz. There needs to be competition to see if he can rise up to the level of competition to play. Because we need him to do because he gets beat way too often. His technique is flawed. We need another player there to compete with him for that right guard position. So we need to open up that spot for competition. Is what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Resign Luke Fortner, signed a couple of guards, a guy that can play that left guard, a starter, a top to tier one guy, and a tier two guy to compete with Ruiz, or draft the guy. We also still have to deal with depth around it because we have a lot of offensive linemen that's coming off in injuries, and the Saints still have to address that some kind of way. But anyway, let's keep it going. It's on to the next article here. These are the 5 extensions and re-signing Saints must consider this offseason. Shout out to Ross. He penned this on LouisianaSports.net. And he talked about 5 more extensions of re-signing Saints must consider as free agency. Alante Taylor sticking with the secondary. Taylor is one of the biggest names the Saints have to consider. The trick will find a contract value for him that makes sense for both sides. The Saints want Taylor to continue playing the slot, the star role, but he could fetch a large sum on the open market as an outside corner. Like we said before, the slot number, Alante Taylor is a guy who can play inside, outside. And if the contract is north of, I would, what would the Saints be cool with playing? Like I say, I estimated months 11, 12, 13 million. Me personally, what would be, the stopping point? Where like, I ain't paying you 15 million a year, bro. You only got 4 picks. I would probably say, I said 11, 12, maybe 13. I'll go as high as 13 million for Alante. I guess 12 or 13 million. Just call me sentimental. I like him out. He works well in the defense. Maybe that. But anything north of that, I would just be like, I'm gonna just probably pivot and get Mansour Delaney, or if Caleb Downs is there, I'm gonna take him. You see what I'm saying? Because I know if I get Caleb Downs, he gonna give me them interceptions. If I get Caleb Downs, I'm getting them interceptions. I can put him at that cornerback spot. I can use him as a safety. I can have him play that star role and have a larger ceiling, right? Better athlete, he will get those interceptions. But like I said, that's why I stopped with Alante Taylor. He gonna look to get paid, so I'm gonna rank him as the second best cornerback in free agency. We'll see how it go. We'll see. Chris Olave, the only player to make this list without an expiring contract. Olave's extension potential has been well noted all season long. Conversations have been ongoing. The deal is likely to be the biggest the Saints hand out this offseason. Should an agreement be reached? If not, Olave still can play on his 5th-year option before the team and the representatives head back to the negotiating table for 2027. It'll sour a bit. You don't want to piss him off, but we'll see. However, judging by the connection between him and rookie quarterback Tyler Shuck, as well as a strong season he just completed, getting this deal done sooner than later might be the best interest of the organization. Otherwise, his price tag could quickly skyrocket. If they would have got it done earlier, before his numbers were feeling got to the back where he was actually elevating numbers, you could have got that like 2 months before, right, the end of the season. Like they were negotiating this stuff well into earliest, the rumors circulated early in the start of the regular season. You heard it. Then when we got into the season, 2 or 3 weeks into it, 4 weeks, 5 weeks, you start hearing rumors, and then you start hearing the Saints toward the middle of the year start really admitting to that they're having discussions. If the Saints would have closed then, I think that they would have gotten a better deal than what they were going to get with him completing and breaking everything else, because he had yet to fulfill his statistical milestones. That would have been better then, but the Saints waited to see if he could. Now that you waited, you got to pay. You got to pay. And Chris Olave is going to want $25 million a year at least. If he signs a 5-year deal at, what is it, $125 million, this is going to be a huge contract for Chris Olave. A huge contract. He's gonna want big money. He got some of these players that's that's north of 25 million, and this is gonna be a huge contract for the Saints and Chris Olave. He's at 15 million right now, and you're gonna want at least 20. You're gonna want at least 25 million a year. So at the end of it, you might be looking, if it's a 5 year agreement, you might be looking at $120+ million 4 or 5 year deal. If it's 4 years, you're looking at least 100 million. If it's five, it's 120 plus for him at least. And I'm saying at least because it starts at 20, ain't it? Not 20, but 25. That's what he's looking at. I promise you that's what he's looking at, because he getting a lot of that. And like I showed you guys on the previous stream, you look at some of these other wide receivers, that's how they be looking at each other. And he said, so we don't be doing that. We don't be paying attention to all that bull crap. Bull crap. They are watching each other get paid. And then they use other people's contract to say, man, I'm better than this guy. And then that guy or that guy. And that's how they get broke off. That's how they get the money. That is how it works. Hold on for a second. Let me pull it up right here, because I had the numbers before on the teams and who making what according to each position. And it's not cheap. Some of these guys that he's going to end up with is going to be pretty pricey, man. Just to be honest with you, it's going to be pretty pricey. I mean, look at this. Look, check this out. And I showed you this before, but fam, listen to this. That's how you see what they're going to do. Now check this out. This is the wide receiver. This is the current list of NFL wide receiver contracts. You can see right here, Jamar Chase is over 40 million a year, right? 73.9 of it guaranteed at 26 years of age. Justin Jefferson is second, followed by CeeDee Lamb. DK Metcalf, now he goes from 40. He's the only $40 million wide receiver. Rich is in the game with that. 35 flat by Justin Jefferson from the Vikings. 34 flat a year for CeeDee Lamb. This is a year for CeeDee Lamb. DK Metcalf is almost 33 million for the Steelers. Garrett Wilson, who he played with in college, or his college teammate with the Jets, is at 32.5 mil. AJ Brown is 32. Amon St. Brown from Detroit is 30. Tyreek Hill is 30. Brandon Ayuk is 30 million. That's what I'm like, man, what you talking about signing Brandon Ayuk? That man is not cheap. You're gonna have to go tier two. And with that, Terry McLaurin is at 29 million, right? T. Higgins is 28.7. I didn't know T. Higgins was making that kind of money for the Bengals. And you got Jamar Chase making 40.2 and T. Higgins making 28.7. And that's a lot of bread. Jalen Waddle, the Dolphin wide receiver, 28.2. DJ Moore from the Bears is 27.5. Jameson Williams from the Lions, another Lion receiver, on that with 26.6. Devontae Smith, the Eagles wide receiver, at 25 flat a year. Nico Collins from the Texans is 24.2. Debo Samuel is sitting on this list at 23.8 million. Michael Pittman, the Colts wide receiver, is 23.3. Courtland Sutton, the Broncos wide receiver, is 23 million. Kelvin Ridley is 23 million. Devontae Adams from the Rams is 22 million flat. So is Chris Godwin at 22 million. Stephon Diggs for the Patriots is 21.1. Mike Evans is making 20.5. Jacoby Myers from the Jags is making 20 a year. And then everything underneath that, Christian Kirk, Jerry Jeudy, Cooper Kupp, Khalil Shakur, Darnell Mooney, Rashad Bateman, Darius Slayton, all these guys are less than that, right? So when you look at when I'm saying Chris Olave is going to be, he's going to be up here with Devontae Smith. He's going to, I'm just going to be honest with you. He is going to want more than 25 million a year, right? His buddy and Garrett is in the 30s. Well, I'm saying I'm being conservative. I'm saying at the end of the day, when you really ball it down and get to brass tacks, I'm telling you straight off the bat that the New Orleans Saints are he's going to command at least 25 a year. He's going to command at least 25 a year. At least 25 a year. And I'm telling you, that money going to be at least 125 million dollars. 125, and if it's a 5 year deal, because if I sign Chris Olave, I sign him to like a 5 year deal, right? Make him a Saint for life. If that's indeed the case, and it's 25 million a year at least, and that's base numbers, man, that puts him at 125 million. That puts him up there as in terms of the wide receivers. That'll make him the one, two, three, four, five. Uh, Actually, make him the fifth, or maybe the sixth. One, two, three. Yeah, it'd make him the sixth highest paid wide receiver in the game at 125 million in terms of that, right? He'll be making that because he'll be making 125 million. That make him sixth in the NFL in terms of the total value of his contract, which would still be a steal for the Saints at 25 million. But this deal is not going to be cheap. I'm just going to be honest with you. He balled out big time. He met all of his statistical indications. Not only that, but he also answered questions about his health and where he could be relied upon. Plus, he built a very good chemistry with Tyler Shuck. So at the end of the day, if you're the New Orleans Saints, you're gonna pay this man. He got, like I said, 125 million a year is actually that's the cheapest. It's actually going to be anywhere more than that. I would even surmise it'll be anywhere between 25 and 30 million dollars a year for him. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yes, indeed. It's going to be something else, man. I'm telling you, this contract is not going to be cheap. It really isn't. Right? All right. Anyway, let's go back to the article, man. Cam Jordan, with the structure, his contract set to void in the final days of the league year. That's March the 10th. The potential future Hall of Fame famer should be absolutely back. The challenge here at the age of 35 is Jordan's entering the contract year after piling 10.5 sacks. So does the team pay him like a 36-year-old, or does it pay him like a double-digit sack getter? What's the in between? That's a great question. This will be one of the most intriguing contract negotiations across the league for those who enjoy geeking out over contracts like we do. Now, the reality is that's a great question. And the point is, it's a 1 year deal. So, no, you're not going to pay Cam like a 10 and a half sack guy, right? That will usually come with a multiple year agreement. It's already understood that Cam wants to play for 1 year. So, it would have to be, and really, if this, depending on how the Saints craft like the restructures, if the Saints restructure all of the players that we just talked about that's on that list, right? The restructure list when I talked about Elvin and all these Chase and Carl Granderson, Eric McCoy, Cesar Ruiz, Divine Gacho, Nate Shepard, Yedem. You see what I'm saying? On and on. If they went through that entire list and restructured all those guys, the Saints can have enough money to pay off Cam at the end of the for his final year of the contract. But I'm saying both Cam and Double D want to be here, so there's no leverage in so far as with these contracts. Usually, what contracts come up is usually other teams provide leverage. Now, if there is a ghost team that steps in that's interesting and whatnot, but we know already that Demario Davis and Cam Jordan do not want to pay for anybody else except for the Saints. So that's no leverage there. So what I see is happening is I don't think it'll be an unfair contract for Cam. I don't think it'll be an unfair contract for Double D. I think it'll be a respectable agreement. It won't be the league value average because that's disrespectful. I think that you pay him appropriately, but also in respect to the team. So it'll be a balanced deal for both players to come back for an additional year because we still have to be about the business of getting players to build on the team. And I don't think that they want to get in that way in terms of the money, right? So in terms of DeMario, not many players set a career high in tackles in their 14th year while having a productive player over the course of their career. Davis could very well be in the Big Easy next year as well, but like Jordan finding the contract do so won't be easy. Davis' leadership and impact off the field can't be understated, and that's why you give him the deal. But like I said, these are gentlemen that's older and in the back end. They have 1 year. They already agreed upon. They're going to play for an additional 1 year. That will be in harmony with the team, and it'll be both a responsible deal for both the team and the players. The stuff like that actually happens. And of course, we talk about this as well. Luke Fortner. Fortner should be back in black and gold again next year. I said you got to. I don't. This guy was a very good pickup. This was a very underestimated trade. Like of all the trades that the Saints made on the offense, period. All the trades we made last year, whether it was getting Divine Valley, trade for Jalen Polk, trade for Divine Gacho, whatever the trade that Akeem Richards, because we did a trade for the Texans to get Akeem Richards, the backup tackle, right? Out of all those trades, one of the most underestimated trade that the Saints did is when they sent your boy Bink Saunders, sent him packing to the Jacksonville Jaguars for them to get Luke Fortner in return. That was a great deal. I ain't gonna say great, but it was a good deal. They won in handily because the Jaguars end up putting Bink Saunders on the street. He ended up with the Jets. So the Jags had some success last year, but Bink wasn't there to enjoy it. He went to the Jets and he looked terrible and unhappy when we played the Jets. Remember that? We kicked the Jets' teeth in. He was over there sitting on the side looking sad. But that goes to show you that how good the trade was to get Luke Fortner, because when McCoy keep getting hurt, we need a quality center. And let me say this, fam. That would be a quality move. The Saints really need to get that done because Luke Fortner not only stepped in, he knew how to orchestrate the offense. He knew this. He was working with Tyler Shuck, so they got a chemistry, a synergy. He understands what the offense is doing. He can call out the same protections if he need to and guide guys and talk to people. He did a very good job at the center position. He set right into that. So there's a comfortability having Luke Fortner to play those games, those 8 games that McCoy missed, and stepped in there and performed well. Getting him back is big because you can count on him if or when, hopefully he won't, McCoy will miss time because he's missing all of these damn games. It's 24 games in 4 years, 20 games in 2 years. It's just too much. So what he's saying is Fortner should be back in the black and gold next year. The Saints offense absolutely bottomed out with starting center McCoy, and it is bottomed out going back to 2024. We'll have to go back that far. In 2025, the Saints offensive line looked like crap with him in there when the starters was in there. Now you can say that they were still trying to learn how to play and all this stuff, and I grant you that. But at the end of the day, Eric McCoy it cannot be relied upon in the way we used to rely upon him in the past. We can't do that no more. We can't make him be the center point of the offensive line because he's not available. He's constantly missing time. And he don't miss 1 or 2 games. He misses 8 games. He misses half the season. And listen, I'm not faulting him because the lot of these injuries, they could possibly be out of his hands, right? Some of them, maybe he could train better. Maybe he need to stretch more. I don't know. But the reality, what I do know is that he's not available in the way that we need him to be so we can have a stable offense. So if you're going to continue to keep McCoy, who I believe is under another 2 years with the Saints, you need to get Luke Fortner here. New Orleans was unable to absorb the loss and stay afloat much better thanks to Fortner. Having insurance to help protect against further injuries across the interior is never a bad idea. Luke Fortner excelled. He picked up that offense later on, and he worked really well with Tyler Shuck. And then they even had a running game with Luke Fortner in there. With him, they had multiple backups, and they still were able to run the ball without Elvin Kamara, Kendre Miller, or Devin Neal. They had Audric Estime up in there running the ball, the fourth string running back. Behind 3 backup offensive linemen in and out of the lineup, the Saints were still able to keep a balance to win games and keep the pressure off of Tyler Shuck. Fortner deserves to get re-signed. Hopefully they see that. And of course, honorable mention, he mentions Taysom Hill, a tough one to gauge because of the injury history and retirement potential. The do it all incredible run and career in New Orleans, that run may be coming to an end. The Hill game plan wasn't the same with the new offensive personnel and staff, and another injury hit Hill as the season ended, an AC joint injury. It's hard to picture his future in New Orleans right now, though not impossible. Yeah, I don't think Taysom Hill comes back. I think we move on from Taysom Hill. Taysom Hill would be 36 or something like that next year. Plus, he had that injury, which will take time to heal. I don't think it'll be special to get him back, but it got to be at a right price because he was making a lot of money. Taysom Hill was making a lot of money the last several years, and that falls off the books. And with him being hurt, and he'll more than likely be hurt to start the season. I don't see why the Saints would want to do that. Just need to move in another direction. And I remember him was crying. I remember he was crying at the press conference. I do think that he knew that this would be his last year with the Saints too, because he was kind of you could see he was upset and sad. All right, anyway, let's keep this thing. Y'all hit that like button, man. Remember, this broadcast is brought to you by FanDuel, man. Remember that, y'all. If y'all got to make your picks and you got to do what you got to do, you got to go and do it with FanDuel. AFC, NFC championships coming up, you guys. Need to check it out, man. They got the best TD prop bets in the AFC and NFC championship game. They got that going on. So we'll cover that on the back end, right? When we get going. Anyway, let's get into this article right here. NFC South coaching carousel as we move forward. Y'all hit that like button, man. Shout out to Saints Wire. Talking about it, NFC South teams have not made changes to their coaching staffs as of 1 p.m. on Thursday, January 2nd, 22nd. The Carolina Panthers, who finish in first place, Saints, who finish in last, while some familiar faces are returning. Both the Falcons and Buccaneers are actively filling out their coaching staffs in hopes of turning things around for this season. Panthers assistant, like defensive coordinator Evero, has interviewed for promotions elsewhere, so change could be coming to Carolina. But the Saints haven't shown any public urgency to build a better coaching staff. Coach Kellen Moore gave his staff a week and a half off to recharge and spend time with their families. And after the regular season ended, coaches returned to their offices Tuesday, January the 20th, and evaluations are ongoing. But it remains to be seen how Moore could shake up his staff, if at all, will be keeping up with the NFC teams and what they're up to. So this is a couple of updates that he's providing for the Saints staff, and the only thing that I could possibly see with the Saints doing is special teams coordinator. I think Phil Galliano had a disastrous time. Of course, he did lose JT Gray. He did lose Blake Grupe in the center of the season. They got a new kicker there. They also Kai Kroger kind of struggled. The coverage teams wasn't all that. And out of all of the position or the offense, defense, and special teams, Phil Galliano really didn't look that good, right? And Kellen Moore brought in his own people everywhere else. The majority of the guys he's comfortable with. I think he could probably do better than Phil Galliano, but it's yet to be determined. We'll see. So right now, it is what it is. The obvious area the Saints need to improve with special teams. Galliano's crew fielded kicking units that ranked in the bottom half of the league in almost every metric. Bottom five in key stats like net yards per punt and field goal hit rate. There are plenty of good candidates out there, but for now, the Saints haven't tipped their hands on whether or not they want to make a move here. I like Phil Galliano. Do you give him an opportunity to kind of turn around, or do you pivot and go in a different direction? Because he's right. Remember the block kick that we had as well when in the Atlanta Falcon game? So I mean, it's a lot of stuff that stinks with Phil Galliano's crew. This is a good opportunity to make the change if you're Kellen Moore. We'll see. On to the Atlanta Falcons. They got a new coach, Kevin Stefanski. Offensive coordinator is Tommy Reese, and they kept Jeff Ulbrich. They don't have a special teams coordinator yet. Falcons made one of the year's first coaching hires by Landon Stefanski, a two-time coach of the year. He's already brought some of his former Cleveland Brown assistants with him, but Stefanski is keeping the defensive staff largely intact. He inherited a good defense and is trusting those coaches to maintain high expectations while getting Atlanta offense right. Now with Steph, it feels like for them like a Dennis Allen type move from an offensive standpoint, right? Right? Because you keep the defensive guy there, you're gonna bring in a special teams coordinator. He's tasked with getting the quarterback situation right in Atlanta. Yeah, they got a lot of tools. They might lose a few people in free agency, Kyle Pitts, possibly Tyler Algieri, right? So the defense is trending on the upside. Special teams has some issues, but in the end of the day, they think Stefanski could be the answer for that. But all I see him do is stink in terms of QBs, you know. And to make it, very interesting is the fact that free agency, there's not really any great free agent quarterbacks out there. To be honest with you, there really isn't nothing going on. You got Jones there. He's coming off an injury, so he might not be available. Aaron, Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers, really? It's just a lot of stuff going on. So there's not a lot of greatness out there right now. And some of the guys that might be, they're looking for could possibly end up somewhere. I mean, there is Malik Willis. There is Hendon Hooker. He's on. Those are two intriguing quarterbacks. Marcus Mariota, but not much else to shaking with Atlanta. So how do you fix the QB position? Do you go back to Kirk Cousins? You draft them, and there's not one higher enough in the draft that you could take to put in the place of Penix. So what do you do? I think it's a lot of stuff right there. If you needed a guy to do that, I think they could have done a better job than Stefanski. But then again, I applaud the Falcons getting Stefanski because it's going to be interesting. Now, in terms of the Carolina Panthers, who actually won a division, Dave Canellis is there. You can see there that they got Coach Brad on the offensive coordinator position. Evero is looking to leave. We'll see. And special teams coordinator is Tracy Smith. NFC South's only playoff team hasn't shaken things up yet, but they could be forced into if Evero lands a head coaching job elsewhere. Canellis has helped Bryce Young develop into a valuable starter, improved from 5-12 to 8-9 with a playoff berth, and year two has a lot of momentum behind the Panthers coach. He has a lot of stuff that he needs to build on. And that's why I say I think between the NFC South coming up next year and it'll be the Saints and the Panthers, because the Falcons still have a lot of stuff to figure out. And I think they'll be stagnant, and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers is finally heading in the opposite direction, right? So there's going to be some change on Todd Bowles' staff. So Zach Robinson, right? Zach Robinson is offensive coordinator. They don't have a defensive coordinator. Danny Smith special team. Bowles turned over almost his entire coaching staff after falling short in 25. With the new additions coming out of each coordinator spots and many positions, more changes on the way. But for now, these are the names to know. To be fair, to ask if this could be enough to save the future of Tampa Bay after losing 7 of 9 games. So getting rid of all of his coaches, bringing in Zach Robinson, changing things around. It's changes on the way. Then there's still, I think, Baker Mayfield. I think he has like he got a year left on his deal. He wants a contract. So Mike Evans is a free agent. So they got stuff. They got some good wide receivers there, but a lot of stuff to fix on. I think Tampa Bay is right where they're supposed to be, right? And there you go, fam. That's a little a little update right there in terms of what's going on in the NFC South. I think it's time for the Saints to step up. That's why I'm saying building and getting the right pieces in free agency, building up that offensive line, and taking the best players available when the time comes, right? So there you go. All right, anyway, man, that's all I got for y'all today on the broadcast, man. Y'all hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and by all means, feel free to share the show on social media feed, man. Listen, I will be back sooner than later, man, to kind of talk to you guys about a little bit of everything that's going on with the Black and Gold Nation, man. As you understand, man, Big Q and the Sports Coma Alvarez representing. Shout out to our Patreon champions, our YouTube membership family. If you want to see the platform grow even further, please check out our Patreon. Go to patreon.com/the Pro Media Network. We got dozens of shows, a lot of content on Patreon, as well as for our YouTube membership family. But if you want to really help the movement and help the show along over a decade plus in the game, the Sports Coma representing the mighty Who Dat Nation, join our Patreon, patreon.com/the Pro Media Network. We got some new merch that will be unrolling out to our pro shops and all this kind of stuff coming at you guys really soon. And also, just to let you know, man, that the Sports Coma is brought to you by, that's right, FanDuel, right? That's the main sponsor of the show, and you guys can feel free to go to FanDuel. Y'all know how to get there, man, on the app or whatever, and you can go ahead on and place your best. Now they got this going on right here: two best NFL touchdown props for the AFC and NFC championship games. They'll give you the line and tell you everything that you need to know for the prop bets and everything going on. As you see right here, RJ Harvey to score a touchdown, that's plus 120 there. And so it's a lot of stuff, man, to some of the prop backs, and they'll kind of put you on the game and let you know what time it is. So it don't matter if it's NFL, NBA, or anything else. Check out FanDuel, the official sponsor of the Sports Cone. So with that being said, man, listen, I'm going to get out on that. Y'all hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and by all means, feel free to share the show on your social media feed. I appreciate y'all, man. I'm going to holler at y'all on the flip side. Much love, peace, and who that to.
Whether you're catching up on Saints news at Jackson Square, checking Pelicans scores in the Garden District, or staying updated on LSU while grabbing coffee in the French Quarter, there's one place that keeps you connected to everything that matters in our city. From Bourbon Street to the Superdome, from Preservation Hall to the Riverfront, New Orleanians are staying in the know with thehootetdaily.com, your daily source for Saints, Pelicans, LSU, and all the sports, music, and culture that makes our city special. At work downtown, at a game in the Dome, or just relaxing by the Mississippi, wherever life takes you in the Big Easy, you can stay connected. Because when you're from New Orleans, you don't just live here. You stay in the NO. That's stay in the know. Visit thewhodatdaily.com and never miss what matters most to Who Dat Nation.
Welcome to the Pro Shop, where we create authentic NOLA-inspired clothing for men, women, and children. From Saints jerseys to Pelicans gear, everything's crafted right here in New Orleans. Whether you're shopping the Pro Shop, the Pel Shop, or the Pro Shop Kids, we've got your whole family covered with genuine merchandise that represents our city's spirit. Check for links in the description section below or in the chat.